And what is up? We are live on March the 24th, 2017 with Ask Christian Anarchist number 22. We are still going strong and well for this stream and broadcast. And I got to remember to mute myself so that way I don't hear myself over the live stream. Anyways, so first of all, I just want to give a big thanks and a shout out to those who prayed for me as well as kept me in their thoughts and showed the support while I was up in or down, should I say, in Baton Rouge for the convention that was going on there. It was fun. It was nice. It was awesome. Very wonderful people to meet there. And I, of course, had plenty of opportunities to hand out a bunch of tracts while I was out there. I think I handed out about, if my counting is correct, at least 60. At least. Some of them were the various tracts from Fellowship Track League. Some of them were from other places that I printed out. And then, of course, some were the tracks from the Spiritually Honest Ministries team. And it was pretty cool. I got to meet the voice actors there. I got to meet David Vincent, got him to do a shout out on the channel. Even got to be judged by him a bit in a voice acting tryout. And then went to a panel to talk with another guy named Eric Cherry. Very cool guy who, by the way, he also got a chance to read the Otaku Gospel pamphlet that I had. So he took his time to read it when people were sharing it amongst each other. So there's a good benefit of this simple tract right there, is that it'll definitely catch the interest of somebody who sees the title, and they'll read it. And I got a chance to also have a conversation with an atheist during the convention as well. So, oh yeah, speaking of which, I did tell him about this and a while back when we were at the convention. So let me just inform him real quick. So give me a sec. So, but anyways, yeah. So if you got any questions, so we're gonna do this thing as usual. So if anybody has any questions about theology or any regards, or even about the anime convention on the experience there, just leave because apparently we have 4 viewers that are live right now watching. So if you have any comments or anything, feel free to leave something there. But right now we are kind of empty. We don't have anyone in the in here right now on standby, so I can't answer any questions from some people in here. So I'm just gonna have to either work with people who ask me for the link or those who ask questions in the live chat. So I'm gonna quickly send this text while the questions are on their way. Then that'll give me something to do till then. Okay. All right, so let's see here. All right, I'll get Remy, since I see you got it, and we're good friends. Let me see if this will add you in the direct add. Okay, yes. So you're directly added to the chat. So you're more than welcome to come in, Remy. All right, and also your mod. So I also kind of rely on you for that particular job as well. So, but don't worry, you can take a break for now on that, because so far I don't think we had too much activity going on, but we got some people watching, which that confuses me. We got like 5 viewers who are watching, but yet for some odd reason we only got 1 person that is leaving a message saying, Jewel Robinson saying, I miss you. I miss you too. I'm sorry to all the fans. I had to take a vacation. I was going to plan on doing this particular Ask Christian Anarchist number 22 at the convention and bring my laptop, but I didn't know how the whole thing would work out, honestly. Plus, I don't think I really had any room for it in my pack at the time. So, but it works out fine in the meantime. Let's see, where do I see the invite? Just go to Google Hangouts and you'll be able to see it there. Just in case, though, I will try just sending you the link, because I don't know. Sometimes it works different. Some people get the direct link thing, but some people just don't. So, okay, let's see you're reading it there. There you go. All right, so. By the way, I am atheist. I should have told you. I think. Oh, Joel. So we've met. Wait. Hang on a second. Was there a video that? Let me look at one of my videos. There was something. Because I thought I saw somebody leave a comment concerning one of the videos I posted. Not that one. Yeah, Joel, if you can remind me of oh, sorry, Remy, I did not see you there. Sorry about that. There you go.
Okay. I don't know what you're apologizing for, but okay.
It's because I'm right now trying to look around for this particular verse for a video, because I think there's someone named Jewel Robinson. Jewel Robinson is the person who's in the live stream and is saying that, by the way, I'm an atheist. I should have told you at the convention. And I'm trying to remember who Jewel is. It's just sometimes I talk to a few people, and then, it's the YouTube persona thing. So I'm trying to figure out where the person is from. So let's see. Okay. So far, Scenes commented on the video I did with Gingy the Hedgehog, which the comment was Sam Kuhn. Let's see, anything else? No, I think that might actually have just been it. But yeah, Jewel, if you want to come in the chat, just feel free to go to Google Hangouts and ask me privately for the link, and I will get you in there. All right, so anyways, we're going to try to continue onward with this, since we got somebody in here. We got Remy the Canadian, my favorite Canadian. So, Remy, how are you doing, my man?
Fine for now. Yep, fine for now.
Fine for now.
Got a bunch of doctor's appointments coming up. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. I've seen that you've been getting into it with some of the flat earthers as of lately, due to some of the videos I've seen you share on Google Plus.
Not really. I'm just tossing it out there, really. I refuse to get into it with any of them for the last half a year, because it's just pointless.
Right.
It's like a bunch of grade niners in the hallways yelling at each other.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm probably gonna get into it with one of them. His name is Jeranism.
Oh no. I would leave that guy to Red's rhetoric.
Yeah, well, the thing is that he didn't make a video about flat Earth. He basically just went on and attacked Christianity, basically.
Oh, okay.
So a deist going on the whole thing with Christianity, and he had some very interesting comments, and so I basically just shot him a message if he wants, seeing if we could discuss anything on the Theological Discussion podcast. Get that going.
Yeah. Well, hello to those who are not familiar with me. I've been around for about 9 years on the evangelical theologian chat rooms for about 9 years now. I started with Shock of God, and I've been defending many different points, and I don't know, people seem to enjoy my company. Anyways, I did have a question. It's
Right.
I'll start with the simple form if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, go ahead. Yeah, anything
'Cause
simple or base?
I apparently I tend to babble after. Anyways, see here. What is your take or your stand on politics on the pulpit? Not politics between brothers and sisters in Christ, like in pet fellowship and but say when you're actually appointed a reverend or as a pastor or deacon or preacher or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you decide so where do you stand on, say, that preacher or minister or whatever starts focusing only on the trials and times of the day with politics and not at all referring to the Bible?
Okay. So let me just make sure if I understood your question.
Mhm.
So you're asking what my thoughts are on pastors or reverends that get in the pulpit, ready to preach a sermon, and politics starts getting brought up, right?
Mm-hmm.
My general main thoughts on that, and I'm gonna be interrupted a couple times because I'm taking my medicine real quick, is simply this. Concerning politics, there is a reason why there's a separation of church and state, and there's a reason why Christians can actually agree upon this as a biblical method as well. And that is that we want to make sure the message is pure. That's the first thing. I think by the time we start involving politics into our sermons, the gospel then starts to slowly, Jesus starts to sort of be faded out a bit concerning the message. For example, this was at the Donald Trump inauguration. I mean, as much as I would have preferred him over Hillary, there are many things wrong with Donald Trump concerning the religious level. This is a guy who, apparently, according to Franklin Graham, because it rained, there was according to him, it's a sign of God's anointing or acceptance of him, even though rain was also a sign of condemnation when it came to the flood. But I mean, Donald Trump has a whole good load of theological errors, as well as the fact that he's a strip club owner, casino owner. At one point, when he's speaking to a group of 700 pastors in Orlando, Florida, on August 11, 2016, he says that becoming president is probably the only way that he's going to go to heaven. And he apparently, at the famous, Family Leadership Summit in 2015, he was asked if, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? He says, I'm not sure I have. He doesn't even think that he needs to ask God for forgiveness. So it's unfortunate that there are actually people that will then parade and put people like Trump and others just because they wear the mark of the Republican, or you say have the same in the liberal churches. You have the same thing being applied to Hillary and other people that are in the Democrat camp. I don't think this is biblically consistent. What we should point out is that they all have their errors. We should pray for them, but we should not make them the subject of our sermons. And likewise, regarding the politics, like of the different issues, I think what we need to focus on is specifically, someone may talk about something that happened in real life. I don't think there's a problem with the pastor mentioning that slightly delves into it. But as far as, if he mentions, taxes and then what Christians should do about it, that's something that I think the pastor is not in his right as a pastor to do. The pastor is to deliver the sermon to edify the body of Christ into spiritual edification, that they are to build them, to grow them. So, I mean, I've talked about Trump once, as well as Clinton, in my sermon once, in one of my sermons. And I don't go too much into the politics or or any of the decisions he's made. All I've pointed out is just a general, what people think about him, and then how we need to work on our own character in the same kind of way that how we want him to work on his character. So you just bring something up in a small manner, and then you focus on the big picture that comes from the gospel, that comes from reading the Word of God, and showing the application in practice when we preach it to God's people. So that's my overall thoughts on the issue of the pastor and politics and religion. Is that you're not a politician, you're not an observer of politics or a political science guy. You're a pastor. Your job is to preach the Word of God and to edify and tend to your flock that you have, that you need to care for, just like Jesus would care for his sheep. And you need to make sure that they are healthy and well spiritually. So that's my thoughts on it.
Alrighty, I'm glad you. Well, you essentially agree with me. I don't believe it has any place for it to be the focus of a lesson in any church.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I believe it has its time and place, and I believe a minister may use it briefly as an example, or like if I were to say, like, well, Trump or Trudeau or Putin said, they set to do this today, or this is the result. I could bring that up as an example for a minute, but then I should focus. If I were a minister, I should focus on the Bible and what the Lord has done for us, and the fact that we are to remain calm and give our fears to the Lord. But where I've actually had experience about 2 months ago, I had a substitute in place of my reverend. My reverend was sick at the time. I got up and walked out on the house church / Bible study because I had enough of listening to what I'm in Canada, so it's already absurd to listen to anything about Trump or Hillary or Mitt Romney or any of the other whatever. But this went on for about 15 minutes and had no reference to the Bible, had no scripture involvement, didn't mention Jesus Christ or the Father or the Holy Spirit, nothing. It was just simply, how the streets are, what the people are doing in the streets. It's all because of Trump, I get it. The preacher doesn't like Trump. And I don't, as a Christian, I don't really much like him either.
Right.
Like you were saying, he's out of the two. If since the nation's hands were forced, out of the two, him and Hillary, he's only a bit better than her.
Right.
But as a Christian, I shouldn't have to hear about it. It should be equal or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so that was, I asked this question to Matt Slick, and I also added that to tell him that I just walked out, and he's like, well, why shouldn't you be, why can't you walk out? I'm like, I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I do thank you for that question, because that's sometimes because I think some people think that, because there are people out there that think the whole thing about politics and religion, that they're connected. Like, I forget what his name is, but he David Barton or Burton or something like that. He's some guy that been claiming that without religion, you can't have politics or something like that. And I disagree. And plus, he's tried to paint the all the founding fathers as Christians. But I mean, if we study the history of what they believed and how they actually viewed the church in some slight instances, not all of them were Christian. So I mean, we had some that were deists and had some thoughts about it.
A few of them weren't exactly admitting to God the Father, but rather a God. They didn't actually admit to what they actually believed. It was just, like I think it was Jefferson was more of an agnostic kind of a deist, and he you can kind of read into it that it's more like he was just signing because of the precepts of the entire agreement that he believed in, but not necessarily the God part. So, so the Bill of Rights wasn't signed by all Christians.
Right. So that's the thing I think we need to keep in. And okay, so we got somebody in the comments, Mr. T, all feminists will burn in hell.
Oh.
Well, that's something. As much as I disagree with some of them, I don't think all of them are going to burn in hell exactly. So,
does that include the suffragettes who fought in the 60s and 70s to be allowed to give your mother the right to have a job, the right to get an education after high school, the right to vote, the right to wear pants,
the right to wear pants.
Too. Yeah, those were feminists too.
Yeah, I mean, technically,
the right to refuse child care. Those were feminists too.
And in a sense, I guess I'm a feminist, but more of a complementarian feminist. And then, of course, you got the females that are the feminists in the same camp that I am regarding that issue. So,
yeah. Well, Mr. T, you might want to, if you do read the Bible, maybe you don't, but you might want to actually read and look up on Google the verses in particular referring to the children of God and the respect for condemnation. And you will find that we are not allowed to condemn anybody. You are not allowed to say to anybody, you will go to hell.
Right. But
you're allowed to tell them if you die in the next minute or two, you will if you continue in this path, but you are not allowed to tell them as a condemnation forever that they will go to hell.
Yeah, we can warn about path, but we can't just say, you're going to go to hell, or we just hope you go to hell. We need to warn them from that. So we can't just simply, have a condemning matter like Stephen Anderson did. So I don't know if that's what you got your thinking from there, or if you're just being a troll, because I know you are just putting all your words in capitals. So we get a couple of them every now and then. Women have always been able to earn money. As for the vote, that was a mistake.
Said Mr. T.
Oh, this guy's something.
Well, I disagree fully, but it reminded me of the fact that the U.S. and Canada are having problems, actually, and Britain are having problems with refugees or immigrants or just immigrants, living within their countries for maybe 2 years and rising in the ranks of politics, and then making making policy. I'm sorry, like Canada is suffering because we have several people who do not belong in politics. They are not Canadian born, but for some reason they've been given the applaud. Like someone from Pakistan, I love Pakistan, I love the people there, but if you're going to come into our country and the States or Britain or Canada and then start dictating the way the education system works, the way that the funding for healthcare works, the way that the voting service works, then I'm sorry, but you have no. I think that should not be allowed. It should be only the people born native to this land.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good thoughts there, man. By the way, our friend Mr. T said feminism is androgyny. If you believe the gender is interchangeable, then you are a feminist.
Anyway, but before we continue, hello Miguel, and hello, what's your name? Sergio.
Hello. Remy.
So Miguel's alive. That's not sure about Sergio. Sergio, you alive? You there?
Oh yeah, now I am. Yeah.
There you go. And
There you
Veckel's informed me that he is on his way.
Do either of you have a question?
No, man. I'm just here for the show at this point.
Alrighty then. What about you, Miguel?
No, I don't have any question either.
Well, Remy, looks like you gotta have to ask that other question you said you had.
No.
You were really relying on them, weren't you?
We can talk about feminism some more.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. Yeah, like my next question was kind of like touching on feminism. So I'm like, no, that's a red button. So no, but I did have a topic I wanted to, but it was more the flip side of what I originally brought up. As do we believe, or should we allow religion of any sort to be affected by our politicians?
Well,
like Trump deciding, what churches should be supported.
I think in that case, we need to be like the classic freedom of religion type of movement in the sense that we stand for what we believe. We don't compromise on our particular beliefs. If we affirm that this particular thing is true, then we need to affirm it. So likewise, well, Presbyterians were living high and mighty back then, and Baptists were being persecuted until we had the year of 1689 for the London Baptists, the Reformed Baptists. I'd say stand firm in what you believe, and push to get the recognition that we are Christians. We affirm what's in the Bible, and we will die affirming what we believe. Basically, that's what I would say in regards to that. I won't let Trump dictate how I'm supposed to believe. He is not my pope. He is not my catechism. There is one rule of faith that I have concerning my final authority on those matters, and that is the scriptures. And I will go to them in regards to what my doctrines are and what the teachings that I receive from the Christian faith are. I'm not going to get them from Donald Trump or his flawed understanding of it.
No, it's actually I thought for what I've heard, little bits I've heard from Trump, he kind of supports, or he at least defends in part, Christianity over any other religion. Not that he's Christian himself. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I could clearly show you that he's not really. He's just a library card carrier.
Right. There are some interesting people out there these days. One of which, Brian Fisher, always a favorite to hear if you just want to hear politics corrupt Christianity in one's thoughts. This is a guy that thinks that that America should have a legislation concerning that the Freedom of Religion Act, the right that allows people to believe in what religion they want. He says this only applies to Christians, and that Muslims, Mormons, and all these other different groups that are not Christian do not have the right legally to practice their religion, and that they shouldn't. So, I mean, he said a lot of other interesting things. The only thing I agreed with him once on is he thought that some of the hype that went on about Donald Trump seemed demonic. And I'm like, well, the way some of these people have acted in vocalization, and what is the cheering for some of his beliefs, I wouldn't be surprised with that. But one of the funny comments I've heard him say is that the proof that America is a Christian nation is this: we sell bacon.
There you have it. There you go.
There you go. Because Christianity is the only religion that allows the person to eat bacon, or pork for that matter. That is the reason why America is a Christian nation, is because we allow the distribution and selling of pork or bacon.
If bacon is the third sacrament of the church, unless you're Catholic, then it's the eighth sacrament.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We're living in a very interesting world these days, I tell you.
Yep.
Well, when it comes to Catholics, I've been recently telling people that another one of their heresies is that most of them are not even aware of it, but the Eucharist, where they take communion and drink the wine. They actually believe that the wine, when it reaches their stomach, becomes the literal blood of Christ. And I'm like, well, that's contradicting the will of the Father, where He says in the Old Testament, "Thou shalt not eat the blood." So it's a rather direct defiance to the Lord thy God if you do that.
Yeah, that's an always interesting.
That's interesting.
Even if they're imagining it, even if they know it's not happening, the imagination of it, the Father and Jesus are both in agreement that if you even imagine theft, murder, or rape, you've done it already. Even if you
right, and that's another thing.
To even imagine consuming blood, to even be okay with it.
And I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Dr. Michael Heiser. He's a Old Testament scholar, but I remember there was a podcast that a friend of mine named General Han Solo ended up showing me, and in this particular podcast, he took a whole hour to address the Eucharist, where he had his criticisms of it, and I found his thoughts were interesting, like, because here's the one question he's talking about. They believe that the bread is bread at some point, but at some point when you consume it, then it starts to become the flesh. And the same thing then happens to the wine. And then he starts asking, some questions that, I don't think the Catholics have considered. It's like, well, then if that's the case, nowhere in the Bible it talks about when this process begins, but yet they're implicating that there's a point where where the bread then becomes flesh. When does the no longer become flesh? Is it still flesh and blood it's in your insides? What about when you excrete it? Do you still have flesh components and blood components that are in there that we're able to examine and pick up in traces? So he's asking like all these different questions, like, if that's the case, when does it stop? If not, then when does the flesh stop becoming flesh, and then when does the wine stop becoming wine, or when does the blood stop becoming blood? So, I don't know. Just for anyone who is wanting a good, interesting, thoughtful podcast on this subject, look up for Naked Bible Podcast and look up the episode where he's mentioning the Lord's Supper or the Eucharist. I forget which one he decides to go with the title of. But yeah, so
I know. No, I was just gonna add that for Catholics, if you ever go to I grew up Catholic. When you go to Mass, it's the invocation of the Spirit. The words of institution are when the bread is transubstantiated to flesh and blood, although I've never thought about how that works out in your digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
And Presbyterians do believe in the real presence. We just don't believe it. So,
right.
Just there you go. I'll mute myself now.
No, it's cool. You sure you don't have a question on you at the moment, Sergio?
Why don't you talk about your time at Louisiana, and
Oh, yeah.
what your tracks? How were they received? I'll mute myself.
They were received well. I handed several tracks out to people, and then of course, there was no real hostility towards it. I had a couple of rejections, of course, but I took it well. I don't really, try to then sneak around and just put them in their backpacks or anything. No, I just went on and did my thing. A good bit of them were from Fellowship Track League. A good bit of them were from this other place where I managed to get some tracks at. And then, of course, some of them that I've made on my own. I handed out. And it was the first time I ever got to try showing off the otaku gospel pamphlet, of which one time I think it was somewhere between Saturday or Sunday, because the conversation I was having with somebody lasted up until 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was because I went to one of the raves there too. And while I was there, me and then an atheist got into a conversation outside. And we just started, conversing and talking a bit. It was nice and friendly. It wasn't a debate per se. It was more of, we're talking about, Christianity. Why do I believe it? And so I'm giving him the reasons, and we start going more into the details of things. And we had a very nice conversation. We also had a good bit in common, I believe. We wanted to examine our beliefs, historically and reliably and all that kind of stuff. And a couple of his friends ended up coming over to, and he still wanted to have the conversation, but so we decided to go out while everyone's having their time there. And one of his friends saw that I had the Otaku Gospel pamphlet in my hand, and she wanted to read it. And I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so we just continue our conversation as she's reading it. And then the next thing I know, Eric Cherry, the voice actor in Assassination Classroom, looks over and is like, hey, what is that? And the girl just shows it as like a Taku or anime gospel pamphlet or something. And he was like, can I see that when you're done with it? And she's like, sure. And so she's still reading. And then when she's done, she hands it over to him, and he starts reading it while me and him are still continuing our conversation. And so, we kept having our conversation about why I believe Christianity is true and why people should accept the gospel message. And people around also got to to hear it as well. And I think that's the thing, is that people managed to have a chance to hear, and they have the opportunity at that point to then take the message or leave it, and to ponder on it later on and to examine a curiosity. So I think, especially with the track that was handed out, it definitely helped affect some people when they were reading it. So I honestly really, enjoyed my time there with the person, and I messaged him about this hangout, and so I don't know. Hopefully that he watches this later on, or if he's watching live. Hello, man. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I cosplayed a good bit. Had some pictures that was taken at the event as well, so I've gotten a chance to pose. I'm actually going to show y'all one of the pictures that I used, that I took there. So some what is it, film shooter or something like that?
Yes, it's so cool.
Oh yeah. And so this is one of the pictures for my character that I did a original character that I made up on my own. So and it felt nice trying to, you know, cosplay and to do the whole act and such there. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, it was fun. I'm probably gonna do it again, and I actually might hold a panel there if I take consideration into the time going to it. I might do a Ask Christian Anarchist that is in person. That way, that anyone who's there has any questions about Christianity or anything like that, maybe some barriers can be broken and people can, you know, understand what the faith is about, and if there's any questions that even other Christians there may have concerning their walk in Christ and the fact that they are in the fandom that is the anime fandom, because it can be a bit tricky, especially when you had a booth there that was dedicated to selling body pillows and all that kind of stuff, but then right next to it is the Geeks Under Grace booth that is giving out New Testaments and is talking to people about Jesus. So, you know, you had a bit of, you know, this conflicting in how one should handle their walk in faith, I would assume, if you have those two temptation, one temptation next to the light. But anyways,
So you're not 2D girls?
Hmm?
You're not a fan of 2D girls?
not a fan of what?
2D girls versus 3D girls?
I'm a fan of the girls. I'm not gonna like get very intimate with them. I prefer I prefer the real ones. But you know, I can understand where people are saying that, you know, the 2D girls are kawaii or cute, you know. So that's their whole thing.
Okay.
Waifu material.
If you're gonna be waifu material, you got to be real. That's the first thing for me.
Okay. Who's your anime waifu? Those are the real hard hitting questions.
Okay, now now you want to really just narrow it down. Okay. Okay, so since you're gonna force that one on me, if I had to say, if I were to have an anime waifu, who would it be? A really good question, because honestly I can't think of wait, what was her name? Even though I know there's the whole thing that goes on in the series later on, not gonna try to spoil anything. Rinri Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist. I think she's you know, for one, I usually sometimes blondes are just my thing. Doesn't mean I won't date anyone else. But she's also very confident, very strong, affirming in herself. So, and I like that in what you would call a waifu, I guess. So, I don't know. I'd say Rinri Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist would be CA's waifu at this point. And I can already see the memes are going out saying, "Oh no, CA perv waifu hoarder," or something like that. Anyways, so before this gets even weirder with the talks of waifu, Sergio, do you have any other questions?
Nah.
Okay. Miguel, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You got any other questions? How you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Glad to hear.
So, okay, I guess I have been looking up like more on the Trinity, and I just understand what is it that confuses the people. That's what I don't get. Is it because it sounds like three persons, sounds like three gods? Is that what that's confusing them?
I think that might be it right there, is that as soon as you start saying there's three persons, one being or one God, they're automatically going to start thinking the persons means they're going to confuse personhood for being. And so they're automatically going to start thinking, that's the whole 1 + 1 + 1 equals three different gods kind of thing. So that would be kind of it. And so it really does need help with distinguishing what exactly the Trinity is. And so as a result, you have how did the church fathers settle the issue? They looked at these verses and they drawn the conclusion based upon also the historical understanding that has always gone throughout the church. Then you also have the understanding about the role in which philosophy does kind of have an understanding within the Trinity. For example, in Shabir Ali and Nabil Qureshi's debate on the Trinity, I think there was the best explanation of the Trinity I could have ever had explained, because basically he doesn't go into the whole refuting 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 argument by saying 1 × 1 × 1 = 1. What we get instead is that there is a distinction between a who and a what. So, for example, what am I? Well, I am a human being. Who am I? We know that I am a human being, but that doesn't tell me who I am. Who I am is the Christian Anarchist. So when it comes to God, the being, there's three who's of who this particular being is. And that is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So there definitely has to be very careful consideration, because some people will say that, yes, Jesus is God, and so is the Father, but God, the Father, becomes the Son. So there's a whole lot of tricks that can get into it that can help steer us clear from orthodoxy. So that's why we need to be very careful in what we go about doing. So, by the way, I just want to point out that Mr. T keeps saying, this channel seems useless in any case. Keep talking about blondes in the Eucharist. Lol. I'm sorry that you apparently aren't hearing the fact we're talking about the Trinity at this point, or if you've just been tuning in and out to relevant parts that you've been wanting to hear. So, yeah, I mean, Trinity is kind of hard to understand at first. But I think we, as Christians, need to, especially if one is a pastor or if one has been in the faith for a while, they need to help the Christian with that extra explanation, which is why sometimes I would recommend giving out tracts that, are saying things like Bible basics for new believers or something like that. That way, if someone converts, then they can understand what Orthodox Christian doctrine is. And they don't get confused and go off wandering into heresies, which is why when I hand out tracts, I make sure there is always some kind of contact information someone can reach. Like, I leave my email address so people can contact me, as well as my website so people can check out the articles we've written that also have explanations onto certain theological issues, so that can help them with answers to questions that they have.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's the same thing with like math. In like math, you can't start out with like natural assumptions, as well as you have to be careful with like math and mistakes. Like, do you know 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 + 5, etc. to infinity actually equals -1/12?
Wait, with times infinity?
1 + 2 + 3 + 4 + 5 + 6, etc., all the way until the end of infinity, it equals to -1/12.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's why in math it's weird, because like you can actually manipulate that to make it equal to -112. So that's why we have to be very careful on our precision and results as well as definition. So yeah, so that's why I agree with you that there needs to be like a better way to define, because yeah, personhood and then like what God is like the who and what. Yeah, that instance like that we need to make it more precise.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
also, like, is it I mean, like, the thing is, it's not that I'm not asking, like, necessary, but, like, we're not supposed to understand it in a sense, right? Because, like, if God could be understood, wouldn't that make him, like, less?
Right. I think that even with what we know about the Orthodox view of the Trinity, our complete understanding of it is not going to be perfect. So, some people ask you, well, how does that, even with the rational, reasonable logic explanations you're able to provide for the Trinity, even then, how does it make sense as much? It's like, well, I can't really say how because there are some parts to it that are still going to be mysteries. And as Deuteronomy 22:22 says, the mysteries of God belong to God alone, and that God has revealed what should be known to us. So, and I think if that's the other thing, if there was a God that one is able to fully and comprehensively know 100% in regards to how he operates and his statistics and all that, I don't think he would be the all-powerful, omnipresent kind of God, because then we're dealing with a being who can be in a rate predictable. And I think for someone, especially who's omnipresent as well as omnipowerful, we need to consider that God can be, and say it's unpredictable. We can't determine or see what's going to happen until it actually happens. So that would be the other thing I'd say in regards to that.
I agree, but I'd also add that it's possible that God has revealed his nature, but we can't describe it because we are such finite beings. So, like you having such a great dream, but it's so bizarre that you couldn't even begin to start describing it to someone. I think it could be the same, but again, that's not to limit God and limit who or what he is and what he's capable of. It's just simply, how can you fathom the heavens? Can you fathom space? Well, he can, but you can't. But he can give you in a dream or just watching TV, he can use something as an example to teach you. Sees the cosmos, and you still won't be able to describe it to another person, but it's been made known to your spirit. So,
right. Well, thank you for the question, Miguel. Very good one.
No problem.
Before we go to our next question, since apparently we seem to have the live chat flooded with the rantings of Mr. T, let's take a look at some classics that are just starting to come in. So let's see here. Starting here, yes, only Christian. So I think they're talking about the whole freedom of religion thing. They are trying hate speech to protect sodomy, but you Christians are defending Baal worshippers. So this was because of the comment we said earlier about the whole freedom of religion thing. Remy responded, so Mr. T, you want people to bash doors down regularly like Nazis to make sure there's no blood rituals? That's the only way to disallow these rituals. To which he says, yes, only Christian sects are allowed. That was the point of the policy, to avoid another pope, if they are JWs or Pentecostal, whatever, but must say Jesus is the Son of God and Messiah. JWs won't say really that, I don't think they don't think they say he's the Son of God. Or at least they don't treat him like it. And Pentecostals, they're kind of stretchy. And then replies, it's not for Druids. Followed by trick-or-treaters should be arrested. So then says, I don't think you people realize how much trouble you're in soon. The highlight of Satanism is raping prudish women. I don't even know what the heck that is. Sodomy equals death penalty. And just so you know, sodomites want the death penalty for Christians. By sodomites, I assume you mean gay people. If that's the case, I have yet to meet a gay person who's wanted me dead. And I'm very open about my Christianity. And I met some gay people that I was at the convention, and they did not tell me they wanted me dead. So there you
maybe
go.
it must be one of these liberals that are marching the streets, screaming.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but they lose half their brain in brain cells every day.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised. You know, they got white people calling black people racist. I'm like,
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that one. And this is starting to get interesting. My Christian anime meme deal has been getting a lot of random anime fans just wanting to join it. And I'm figuring, well, since I got some memes up there, might as well let them at least check some memes with some sound theology on there. Let them have a crack at that. Yeah, we're all right. So we are still down. We're still with our crew here. So Remy, do you have any other questions you want to mention? We're gonna start trying to go back around.
nothing at this moment. Nope.
All right.
Unless you want to talk about the Islamization of the world. But
that's going to be happening at some point soon for America, but
yeah. So
I don't know when.
So one aspect of that most people don't talk about or even think about that my mother brought up is that there's a small pocket of Christian theologians who are saying that the Antichrist, who is promised in Revelation, will come to eradicate the Islamization, ISIS and all of them, and cause peace around the world. And
not a bad idea, actually. That's actually something interesting.
So I'm like, reading going back over in my head in Revelation. I'm like, well, that would cause the world to come together, you know, to silence the Sharia law jihadists and establish a one world government and one world religion. So, yeah,
that's an interesting theory.
But, yeah. I'm not going to say that is going to happen because but yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
All right, so we got one person who was wanting to try to join, but said the Wi-Fi is not being the best at the moment. So we'll for her we'll allow the question to be done via Skype. So we'll see how that turns out. By the way, Herald of the Age saying you're not far off, Remy.
Okay. I don't know which way to take that. You know, am I flip-sided? You know, is that the opposite? You know, is it that jihad is going to be reigning over the world, and that the jihad, you know, it's all going to be under Islam?
Jihad.
And that's peace. Because the only peace that Islam knows is peace between another person who calls out Allah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, with a smirk or in the back of their brains, they want you dead. To be honest, like the average moderate Muslim that you meet in the streets is usually someone who hasn't even opened page 1 of the Quran. To be honest, if we want to be honest with each other, most people you meet in America and Canada and Britain who say they're Muslims who don't want violence and tell you there's nothing violence about it and it's just peace, they're somehow being taught by an imam or a Muslim priest that it's just like Hinduism or Buddhism. You know, it's all peace and all shall return to the fold of Allah. So, clearly
and
they
some,
haven't opened up page 1 of the Quran
right,
or
and some of them are even in these different sects that they have in the group, such as you have the Ahmadiyans, which are basically Muslim heretics. That it's not the final prophet, but that some guy named Gurza or Mahdi or something like that is then later the next and is actually the final prophet. So, and these are the most peaceful of the different sects of Islam that there is. And then you, of course, have the the Shiites who believe that their imams are infallible, much like for Catholics that the Pope is infallible in his declarations. And then the Sunnis, which are the majority, you have the liberal ones in a sense, like they are just they hold some slight different weird views. But then you have that are consistent and honest, especially for those who are in the Middle East. So, like the one sheikh that I actually rely on for like a consistent theology on Islam and the Quran when trying to examine the Quran to refute it is Yasser Qadi, because not only is he about as conservative as a Muslim can get without crossing over the Anjem Chaudhry line, but that he focuses on things from a scholarly perspective without compromising certain things in the same way that you'll see some of the moderate apologists try to do these days. So that's something I can appreciate him on. But yes, I mean, a good bit of them have read the Quran. Like you have Shabir Ali, and then you've had Numan Ali Khan, and all of these other people. But I think that they aren't exactly being honest concerning the tradition and the historical understanding of certain passages. And that's what I think we need to be considerate of, is because you have the oldest commentators of tradition, such as Ibn Kathir and a bunch of others, that note that verses like Surah 9, Ayah 29 are basically permission-based verses in the Quran that allow Jews and Christians to be under crosshairs, to be killed. So, I mean, at that point, if you have an early Islamic commentator writing that and is a Sunni, and I don't see where anybody in Islamic history has condemned the writings of Ibn Kathir, then I don't know what to tell you if no scholar, no Sunni has condemned his writings. So I think that, and this is what James White said, the Sunnis that are the Muslims that say, Islam is a religion of peace and we can show it from these verses. Okay, you're making your case. Good. But the other Muslims also make an equal valid case. They are able to point out in the Hadith, in the Quran, the verses where it says warfare and the passages where it's talking about Sharia and all these things, and they're able to apply it. Muhammad was not just some preacher of a new religion. He was also a warlord who conquered and fought people. So the Quran, it's just simple. I say this, that both of these people are able to make valid cases because the Quran is not consistent with itself. The Hadith literature is not consistent with itself. Both make errors historically, scientifically, and even just contradiction-wise. So there's my rant for today on that.
Right. Also, isn't there the fact that they could lie because isn't Takia also allowed?
Yeah, there's the whole thing where I think Allah allowed them to lie and all that stuff. But what also is interesting, and let me see if I can pull this up in my notes here, because I have a debate that's going to be coming up with a Muslim on the doctrines of Islam. So, so let's see what I got here. There is the unforgivable sin, which is known as shirk. Let me see if I have that. So let me see. Find shirk. Okay, here we go. So, oh, come on. Why did it have to take me all the way back up there? Okay. So the question is, does Allah forgive shirk? That's the question. So, and what I found is, turns out that he doesn't really, either he does or he doesn't. So which is it? So here we go. Surah 4, Ayah 48, Surah 4, Ayah 116 says that he does not forgive those who commit the unforgivable sin of that which is known as shirk. So those are the verses. Surah 4, verse 48, Surah 4, verse 116. You can look that up. You don't have to just take my word for it. Next, it says, this is later, Surah 4, same surah, same chapter, verse 153, says that Allah forgave Moses and the Jews, and this is mentioned in the story of the golden calf that they built. And what does it say? Let me read it. It says, it's talking about them doing the worship in the golden calf, and it says, quote, they took the calf after clear evidences had come to them. And there's a bracket in these usually words mentioning that they took the calf, meaning that this means they took it for worship. But that later on, the verse says that Allah surely forgave them. So, what the heck? Allah, so you're able to forgive Moses and the Jews because even after they've just committed the unforgivable sin of shirk by associating a cow with you? So there's the problems too. And then here's another contradiction. Who was the first Muslim? Surah 39, Ayah 12 says it was Muhammad. Surah 7, Ayah 143 says it was Abraham. But then it also says that Surah 2, Ayah 132 indicates that at least Abraham and Jacob were, followers of Islam, or one of the two. So which is it then at that point? Is it Jacob, or is it Muhammad? Was it Abraham? Which is it? Because you can't have one or the other. Then they'll consider Adam being a prophet of Islam. Why is he not mentioned? So, yeah, I have my thoughts on Islam and all that. And I see we have Veckel in the room. What's up, Veckel?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Good. Excellent.
There you go. Yes, I'm trying to be your character.
Well, nobody can do it as good as I can.
Oh, yeah? You need a voice generator, though, for that thing, can't you? Or can you do it raw right now?
I probably could.
All right, let's see what you got.
Let's see. Well, Christian Anarchist, thank you for allowing me in here. What is this discussion tonight?
We're doing Ask Christian Anarchist, Adine. Why do you think I do whenever I'm in my computer all day? Speaking of which, why are you on a different? Did you get a computer while you were gone?
No, I'm speaking directly to you through my system in my head.
Oh, interesting. So what you're saying is I'm hearing voices. All right then.
I would laugh if I was an actual human.
Well, there you go. Well,
Thank you.
Well-
Thank you very much. Thank you.
oh, Veckel, by the way, you missed it. You should have went to the convention. We would have had a blast there. It was just awesome.
Yeah, man. I was actually just getting ready to click on your voice tryout video.
Mhm.
So I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was judged by David Vincent, voice of Grimjow from Bleach, Martial Law from Tekken, and Jin Kurosaki from Blaze Blue. And he's been in several other things. Most notably was the suit in Kill La Kill.
So you went by yourself. You were there. You're by yourself the whole time, just meeting new people.
Yep, just gone there by myself, met some people.
Oh, okay. Hey, man, I gotta say, I really appreciate your boldness to go to these events and just outright telling people that you're a Christian and what you're about, and also that you have the goal to go out there to spread the word and hand out gospel tracts and stuff, man. I really, it's one of the things I really appreciate about you going to these events, man. I have to be honest, when I go to events like these, that's not even on my mind, to be honest with you. But that's a really good and honorable thing that I think a lot of Christians that are of the same mindset as you and I, like anime and go to these type of events. I think it's a good thing that we follow that example. So I thank you for doing that.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, I might expect some criticism first, but as soon as I get in there, and start checking the con, then I look over and you see that in one of the videos from my blogging on that. There's a group called Geeks Under Grace, and they were there handing out free copies of the New Testament in the NIV to people, and they had like 50 copies to give away. And
you were talking to a lady, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
She was a cosplay correspondent at the convention, and was a member who basically was there to help spread the word of Jesus at the convention. And it was them and 3 other people, one of whom was also including her husband.
Nice.
Yes.
And I think man, just keep doing what you're doing, especially when you go to these events, because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of, before I started getting on the internet myself, I was specifically looking for other anime fans and anime artists who are Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really find these things out unless you ask around and start talking to people, because a lot of people, they're, some of them are just, they're kind of young, maybe young in age and young in the faith, and they're afraid of criticism or ridicule, stuff like that, until they meet somebody such as yourself that says, "Hey, I'm a Christian and I love anime. What's up?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I like this guy. He makes me feel, comfortable that I can, you could be a Christian and like anime at the same time. This is great. So keep it up, man."
And that's the thing. I do, like I said, I plan on going to the thing next year. And if that happens, I find out this is going to be a big one for them, because it's going to be Louisiana Anime 2018, and that will be apparently its anniversary. That it's 10th anniversary that they've done this convention. So so it should be a big deal there apparently. And I'm just excited about the place. So I can't wait to go back again. It was fun, and I might actually consider getting a panel there too.
Oh.
So if that happens, and hopefully there's a chance that you're able to go with me.
Man, I would love to go. Yeah, the little one would be in the world by then, so we'll see. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I hope things go well with that, by the way. Let me know how y'all are holding up on there.
Yeah, we'll do. As soon as the little one is brought into the world, I'll definitely make a public announcement on YouTube, Facebook, and say, hey, everybody, we got Vecco Jr. in the world. Watch out.
Watch out for Vecco Jr.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of Vecco, let me just put a quick plug-in out there for those who might know about my cartoon. I am currently working on episode 11. Yes. So when is it going to come out? I can't tell you because I have no idea.
Well, as long as you make sure you say the right name of the suits, which is the PU-47s, I don't think we're going to have much of a problem.
Yeah, right. By the way, listening to the audio that you recorded for me, it made me do something a little bit different, which is more traditional, actually, when it comes to animation. I'm from now on, what I'm going to start doing is grabbing all the audio, putting it together and editing it, and then I'm going to draw the characters depending on how the voice puts an image in my head. And then I'm going to draw that face, which I think matches the voice. So, because I had already drawn the characters out for the scene that you did, but the way you did it, CA, just made me like, you know what, I'm gonna have to go back because the character that I got him playing looks nothing like the voice. So, I actually, maybe one day, maybe real soon, maybe tomorrow I can, or maybe later on tonight, I can send you a picture of what the character looks like now.
That'll be good. I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I did kind of promote your deal there while I was down there because some people recognize there was actually a person there that recognized me from the Dragon Ball Super Abridged thing.
Oh, nice.
So I had a fan there regarding that who was like just freaking out and was happy to.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, I get to hand him out a track to make sure he hears the good word. I think I actually handed him the Romans Map to Heaven track. Now that I think about it, but regardless, it was nice talking to him and all that kind of stuff. And then someone wanted me to do another thing as Vegeta. They recorded me wanting to send it to somebody saying they needed to go man up and just go to prom already. It felt weird being appreciated by a couple of fans because I was there to being a fan for the other people and just appreciating the art of the cosplay and all that some people did, but now I'm on the receiving end of that, and who knows, maybe in the future when I go back, people will recognize me and be like, hey, look, it's the Christian Anarchist and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, the when I went to the Comic-Con up in Toronto last year, I bumped into a guy who I've been following for 10 years. I had no idea he was going to be there until I saw his work. I said, oh man, this looks like, wait a minute. Then I look up. I said, hey, because I didn't know, I'd never seen the guy's face. I just recognized his work. And I was just, hey, can I talk to the guy who did this? Yeah, that's me. I'm like, oh, you're him. You're Kevin Broynez. Oh my gosh, I love your stuff, man. And he was just like, blushing and everything. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, man. I said, you don't realize how much you've inspired me to do what I do now, man. Is it really? Yeah. So we were like taking pictures, talking all day, and he hooked me up with a free poster and stuff like that, man. And he was saying I was giving him goosebumps because of how starstruck I was. He says, I said, man, I've been following you ever since 2005 and stuff. And he says, what? And so, yeah, I started quoting some of his old stuff, and he's like, wow, I didn't know anybody was paying attention. I said, yeah, man.
So, well, there you go. I mean, proof right there. People, they like and they share with. I don't know if I can say that I've had that similar thing though, because I mean,
Right.
my whole outlook and views have changed over the years, such as me going from Arminianism to Calvinism. I was more slightly like easy believism compared to anything else, but still, I went onward and did my own thing. So I've definitely grown up and matured a bit in regards to what I tried to do is for content. But I've lost some subscribers and fans, but I've also gained some at the same time. So it's not me just trying to do it. I just do my thing, and people can watch whatever they want.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, if anyone just goes there and runs up to me and is like, "Hey, you're the Christian Anarchist," like, "Oh man, I'm a fan," that would be the time I'm actually shocked and surprised that someone that is a stranger just runs up and meets me and says they're a fan. But of course, I don't really want to try to carry that or let it get over my head and all that stuff. I try to, do everything for the Lord. And that's why I do most of what I do for YouTube is to bring the gospel. But also I want to show that I'm not just simply some big know-it-all. I'm a person. I want people to be able to relate to me and to get a chance to know me.
Right.
So I encourage conversations and all of that. So there you go. So while we've had our nice catch up there, do you have a question, my good friend?
Nothing right now.
It can even be about the convention if you got any curiosities. Because so far, because Sergio tried to push me into asking who would my waifu be, and I had to say, and I'm pretty sure you're already familiar with this, and you might laugh when I tell you, Renri Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist.
Wait, I've only watched the first season. Which season is she in?
She's in all of the seasons.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since I watched it, so I have to watch it. But
she's the blonde, the blonde childhood friend of Edward and Al.
Okay, I vaguely remember. I have to watch it again. But
right.
I would say, I guess my question would be, shoot. I guess that was part of my question. Did you go there by yourself? As far as expressing yourself as a Christian, there, have you ever experienced any type of antagonistic views or behaviors or attitudes or anything like that?
Not really. The only thing that I had was I handed this guy the Otaku Gospel pamphlet, which, by the way, you're gonna love this story. So yes, I'm gonna repeat myself on this because Veckel's here. But what happened was I was in a I was finished chilling in the at the rave that they had there, and I think it was like 11:30 or 12 o'clock. And so I'm just there. Knees are weak, arms sweaty, mom spaghetti. No, I kid.
I can't believe it.
But yeah, I handed him the tract, and then he looks at me and is like, "What is this?" And then it's like, I explain it's the gospel tract, and he starts, what? So why do you believe this stuff? Just curious. And so we get into a conversation and engage about the whole thing about why do I believe in Christianity and all that. So we continue the conversation, and then eventually his friends show up, and that they sorry for being thrown off. Apparently, metal is disappointed in me because Full Metal I don't know if you saw it to me or Vekla saying Full Metal Alchemist is a classic. But I don't know what's so disappointed about. We've both seen it. But yeah, so they needed to carry the conversation outside because a couple of the friends wanted to smoke. So we went out and continued our conversation, and one of his friends noticed the Otaku Gospel pamphlet in my hand, and so she was asking what it was and wanted to know if she could read it for a bit, to give it a look over. So I gave it to her, and she starts looking it over and reading it, looking at the artwork, looking at what the message said. And, it didn't look like any disgust or anything, just a curiosity. But while she's reading it, something that I thought was absolutely interesting happened, and that was that one of the voice actors for Funimation, which was Eric Cherry, who is most notable for playing Takuya Muramatsu in Assassination Classroom, as well as recently just being like a additional voice actor. He saw the track and was like, "Hey, what is that?" And she's explaining the title and what it is, and he's like, "Can I see that when you're done with it?" It's like, "Sure." So it's starting to be spread around while me and Trip, it was his name, by the way. At least that's what I was informed of concerning the name. We're having this conversation. And, we agreed to disagree on what we affirmed. I got a chance to still deliver the message and why it is true to me and why I think it's true in general. And plus, it's also got a chance for other people to not just hear about it, but with people like this friend of his, as well as Eric, they got a chance to read the gospel in a presentation of a track specifically aimed for the anime community. So, some people would say, "Well, how dare you go into a rave? I bet you may have gotten drunk and took drugs." Well, I didn't. But I think also I thank God that I went to that rave because I got a chance to talk to somebody about Christ, and that I got a chance for a track to be handed around for people to read. So people got to not just listen, but read the gospel message at the same time. Right. I could have just gone to bed and had a good sleep, but I decided to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning to allow a chance to have the word of the gospel provided to them. So
cool. Well, Jesus hung out with prostitutes and publicans and all that other tax collectors and stuff in Luke chapter 5. So you weren't there just because you wanted to hang out and look like the world.
Right.
You obviously had gospel tracks on you. Mm-hmm. And why else would anybody carry a gospel track? Because they want to hand it out.
Absolutely.
Share people the gospel message. So,
mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I handed out I left 6 of them laying out every places, and I had chances to hand like a bit 5 directly to people. So always fun to do that. By the way, so apparently Metal Minister was aiming for you in regards to that.
Oh, well, I've only seen. I think we talked about this before, CA.
Yeah.
I've watched the entire first season, but my own conviction just wouldn't allow me to finish the second because of what I saw in the first episode of season 2. And that's just me. I'm not saying that anybody's a sinner for continuing to watch the rest of the season. It's just my personal Romans 14 conviction.
Right.
So I I'm not condemning anybody. It's just that when I saw the what do you call it? Man, I can't believe I forgot the term. I can't think of the term.
Pentagram?
Yeah, the pentagram underneath that little girl's feet. That was enough for me. That was one of the other reasons why I stopped watching not Chrono Cross, but Chrono Crusade, because I watched like maybe 10 episodes, and then that was it. I just got tired of the concept of them trying to make a demon look like the good guy, and you have this girl who's part of this organization that looked like nuns, but like warrior nuns and stuff like that. And she becomes friends with a friendly demon. And again, that's one of my personal Roman 14 convictions. I just got tired of watching it, and I felt like this felt unright to me. So that's why I didn't finish watching. I might not be familiar with all the characters in Full Metal Alchemist because I didn't watch anything after season 1. So,
well, there's a movie. Apparently, I'm looking at the villains wiki, and apparently, in the movie Conquer of Shambhala, one of the villains in the deal was Adolf Hitler. Apparently.
See, that's one thing. If the bad guy in season 2, I mean, if the girl in season 2 that had the pentagram underneath her was
which girl are you talking about? Are you talking about Lust?
All I remember is a girl. She was wearing dark clothing. She had dark hair, and she needed to help somebody, so she did her thing, and then a pentagram appeared beneath her feet, and then she was able to heal the person. Again, it's very vague to me. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I remember that clear as day, that happening, because the other symbols you see underneath the other characters' feet almost look like pentagrams, but they're not. But this one was flat out pentagram. I mean, there was no hiding it. It didn't look like they were trying to make it look like something else. It was a flat out pentagram, and that to me just like, all right, that's enough. Right. And that's why I stopped watching it. Mm-hmm. But again, that's just so
Metal is saying, oh boy, Vickle better stay away from Trinity Blood then.
Oh really?
Yeah, I guess there's a similar aspect in regards to the demon thing. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that, because I mean, it's why personally I don't feel convicted that I can be comfortable watching shows like The Devil is a Part-Timer, where you, like you said, there's shows where the devil is put in as the main character or as the hero in a situation. But at the same time, I mean, there's shows that I've seen where, I don't know, you have like some kind of like fallen demon or something like. I mean, I thought some of those things I might be comfortable with. But if you're gonna have a character like, say, where it's supposed to be like Satan, like the king, overlord, and all these kinds of things, and just portraying demons in general as good people, then that's another thing. Like the one show that I've seen that has demons that I think is good was Blue Exorcist.
It was one on my list. I want to kind of check out, but tell me about it.
So I haven't seen season 2, but I hear it's supposed to be good. But what you have in season 1 is you have basically this guy named Rin, and he's been he goes through a hard time, and he is very violent towards people that try to bully him and others. Has a real nice heart. You can tell, a very angelic person. He's been raised by this priest for his life. But at the same time, he hates the priest that is considered his father. And then you, of course, have his twin brother, who is doing his own thing. But then at some point he gets hunted down by these demons. And what's being revealed later is that Rin is actually the son of Satan himself. That his mother actually conceived Satan the demon. And so he's going through all these whole things, and after being able to escape the clutches of Satan after his father sacrifices himself, he is just because the demon Satan tried to also kill the father in the process. And he is now looking for vengeance. He's wanting to now go to this exorcist school where he wants to train to destroy these demons, even though he is one himself, because he didn't choose that life. So he was just conceived, and he didn't know until now that it turns out that he was a demon. So it's those kinds of things that I'm like, I'm okay with that then. But as far as like Satan himself, I can't advocate the guy being the good guy.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't mind. Like I said before, is if Satan or anything regarding the devil is portrayed correctly as inherently evil in a story, whether it's an anime or a movie or whatever, I could deal with that. But
By the way, speaking of that, have you gotten a chance to read my article on Satan?
No, I haven't. No. Did you post the link already?
Yes, it's been on the deal. I'll send it to you via Skype, but so far G-Man is coming down on me for it. He is not happy with it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, especially when you have a controversial title such as Satan is not the devil's name. I mean, as soon as you have something saying that, you can tell there's some people, either they're going to be interested or they're going to then just start finding out, how do I get in contact with this guy? I can't wait to call him a heretic without reading. Yeah. So, by the way, I mean, I can see why G-Man would get that idea, because I've recently gotten 666 subscribers. So I was waiting for that moment to come.
Oh my
General.
God. Wow.
Yeah, Christian
I got so
Anarchist,
many jokes I'm waiting to throw out, man. It's just that the timing is bad, so I have to wait.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, we can hear you. What was up, General?
Yeah. How was the reaction to that article?
Well, so far I've only got G-Man's response from it, and so far he's found.
Is it a video response?
No, we were talking on Google Hangouts, and he was saying that Satan is the name of the devil. It's in your Bible. Read it. And so, but I'm like, have you gotten a chance to read my article? It's like, your article is not authoritative. I'm like, I didn't say it was. I'm just saying, if you want to know what I am talking about on this, read my article, or you can just listen to me when I'm telling you the whole thing. But yeah, like, so Veckel, just so you can understand what the whole thing is, the article, if you read it, is basically me talking about me having done some research for the Old Testament concerning the Hebrew word Satan, and how if you read it in the context, especially regarding Hebrew grammar and all that, the word itself, if we're just focusing on how it's applied in Hebrew, has never been in reference to the devil. And
I've heard that somewhere else too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing I decided to go by is the figure in Job. So who is this Satan in Job? I say that it is a member of the divine council that's mentioned in Psalms 82. And the reason why is because the Hebrew word is treated like a title. Mike Kaiser, who's a Hebrew scholar, says this concerning the grammar. In biblical Hebrew, the definite article, the word the, is a single letter. Hebrew prefixes the definite article to a noun, so that, like all languages that have definite articles, the noun is made specific. Biblical Hebrew does not, however, put the definite article on proper personal nouns, such as personal names. In this respect, Hebrew is like English. I don't call myself the Mike. No, or like in our terms, I don't call myself the Christian, or for you, the Veckel. No one puts the word "the" in front of their first name. Hebrew simply does not do this at all. And other scholars like Paul Juan and Takamitsu Muraka have agreed concerning this. So there is good scholar.
He speaks third person a lot, so that's
yeah, and I tried to remove that part from the article, but yeah, Mike Heiser actually mentions that as like, where was it? I don't call myself, says no one except perhaps Donald Trump puts the word "the" in front of their first name.
The Donald.
Yeah. So you could tell that Mike's always got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of consensus that it's, not just in Job, but also Zechariah 3. It's basically the Satan that is basically like an officer of the divine council, and he's titles like he's the prosecutor. He's basically the guy that's making accusations to, accuse God or Job of doing something and all that kind of stuff.
Basically, my favorite would be Numbers 22, because the angel of the Lord has Satan.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Yeah. That if you look, actually, if you're going to treat that the Hebrew word Satan means Satan in its applications, then you're going to have contradictions and theological problems at that point. Because, for example, Psalms 109 verse 6 is talking about, David has been talked about earlier that, people he tried to show love for and be nice to, they accuse him. So his enemies falsely accuse him. And so as a result, he then says, and this is the King James Version, "Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand." Well, if that's the case, do you think it's good for us to pray for God to allow Satan then to work on somebody? I don't think that's a theologically sound prayer thing. So, and a Reformed Calvinistic Old Testament scholar named John H. Steck in the NIV Study Bible provides us what this is referring to. If we're just looking at it as the accuser, or saying, "And let an accuser stand at his right hand." He says, "The psalmist's enemy falsely accused him in order to bring him down. Now let the enemy be confronted by an accuser." So basically, David is wanting an eye for an eye treatment at this point. So I think that makes more sense theologically compared to just saying, let's it be Satan that he's wanting. So that's the other thing. And then, of course, the Satan is referred to people in 1 Samuel 29:4, 2 Samuel 19:22, and other verses. But as General mentioned, Numbers 22, without the has, it's just using la Satan. We see that it's talking about the angel of the Lord is a Satan. So, for example, and John Gill in his commentary notes that this angel that is being referred to as a Satan is not a created angel, one of the ministering spirits, but the eternal one, the angel of Jehovah's presence. And when we read the verse, it says, and then 1 Chronicles 21 verse 1, and Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. But in 2 Samuel 24, it says that God's anger did all that what this just said. So how do we then reconcile what people would say is a contradiction? Well, it's not a contradiction if we know what the Hebrew is, that God is being an adversary, which is what Satan means,
right, against
David at this point.
Right.
So that's all I try to do. And I'm not trying to say that, there is no devil or all that kind of stuff. That's just, I don't think that Satan is the name of the devil. And I'm planning on seeing if I could be wrong on that, because that's just Old Testament. That's just Hebrew. I haven't gone to the New Testament with the Greek, which there is a Greek word, which is Satanas. So I will investigate that and see what I find later.
The interesting thing so Heiser was asked that question of what is his name, and he appeals to Revelation 12, that speaks about Satan as the serpent.
Right.
Because it's so easy to say it now. That being the devil as the serpent. So apparently his first name would be, in this case, the Nakash.
All right, so you said 21.
Revelation 12. Sorry.
Okay, 12. All right, verse 20.
So it's better to refer to him as either the devil or Lucifer, or is it okay to use Satan within context?
Like, I think that's the thing. Like, he's simply just known as the devil, but I think in our terms,
The devil.
Right, like I think it's okay in a general sense to focus on, we can just call him a Satan, Lucifer and all that, because I think those are popular terms, even though I don't think Satan or Lucifer are names for the devil, because I'm sure if you're familiar with the Isaiah 14:12 thing in regards to the textual criticism, that's that's a Latin term for light bearer. And then, of course, you
I
have...
used to be a King James onlyist myself, and that was one of my arguments against the NIV and the other translations. Yeah. So like, oh, what about Revelation 22?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so as far as that, I mean, it's a name that people are just familiar with. But I think, what is the meaning that one is being applied to when, they're saying, protect me from Satan, protect me from Lucifer. We're obviously referring to the devil. We just don't want him. And God knows your heart. He knows who you're talking about, who you're meaning.
Right.
And we just, like, you don't have to know my first and last name in real life to pray for me. You just simply pray to, God for, pray for Christian Anarchist. Hey, he knows who you've been talking to.
Right.
He knows our conversation, and he knows who I am. So he'll know that if you just say that and have that within your heart and intention, he'll be able to work on me with the prayers that you mentioned. So that's a good thing there. So
let me ask you, would you put this situation up on par with the terms such as Son of God? Because the term Son of God, within context, it could either mean Jesus Christ himself, or it could mean an angel or a person who is in allegiance to Christ, right? Is it along the same lines? I mean,
I think so, because but though the difference is that that's referring to it in a more biblical context within the specific word that is used, concerning at least the original languages. But then the other thing is also concerning for the Satan thing and the Lucifer is concerning, a difference between the textual usage,
right,
and just the surrounding cultural usage of the word is what I would say.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, surprised we ain't getting any more comments from Mr. T. We had a guy on here named Mr. T who was saying all kinds of silly stuff.
I pity that fool.
Pity the fool. Yeah.
Did you did you read Gleason Archer's quote? How he found it interesting?
I did. That was the other thing, Beckel. Apparently, Gleason Archer. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Oh yeah, I have his book. Well, I don't know how many books he wrote, but I have one of his books.
Apparently, he was getting close to discovering this thing that we know about the Satan.
Oh.
At least from what General said that he had. If you want, you can provide the link in the side chat, and I'll be able to read it. But I do want to get to.
All right, I'll do that. Yeah.
I do want to get to a couple quick questions before we move on to the off-air portion of the Hangout. That way, people can come in and just chillax a day. All right, so Christian man, are you there?
Christian man,
I am here.
There's only one that can do that creepy voice.
You sound like a teenage Christian Bale Batman.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you do. Wait, are you talking to him or me?
No, Christian man.
Yes, Christian man.
Yes, I'm here.
That's before the lisp.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so you got a question, my friend?
Which apologetics would you recommend for just looking over their books and stuff like that?
Apologist or apologetics?
Apologists for the faith.
Okay. Regarding the books,
That's a good question. I'm curious to hear that myself. What's your answers?
Yeah, personally, I would prefer James White because he has covered a good bit of some material within his writings. And just so for some, wait, hold on, is this a? Oh, I'm seeing apparently there's a debate that's going to be going on between him and some guy over who is God. But yes, James White has written some nice books concerning his views. He's for people who are interested in Calvinism, I'd recommend that for an introduction there. But the King James Only Controversy, magnificent. His book, What Every Christian Needs to Know About the Quran, is just an excellent thing that I think has been come through. His whole thing of dealing with Jehovah's Witnesses, and then his just the Roman Catholic controversy and the God Who Justifies are also great apologetical works. So, or any person who wants to look into Christian controversy and all these, and Christian doctrines and all these things, and are wanting to learn, then I would so recommend James White's works, because he Sola Scriptura, the Protestant position, he helps do that. Justification by Faith, Letters to a Mormon Elder, the King James Only Controversy, the God Who Justifies, the Potter's Freedom, the Forgotten Trinity, and I read his book Grieving, Your Path Back to Peace, which is a book that he wrote in his early days, and he was dealing with the issue of pain and
the problem of evil.
Not the problem of evil per se, but just as a Christian, how is one able to go through the grieving process after losing somebody? So it's not really much of how to solve the problem of evil, but more along the lines of how can I, as a Christian, overcome this? How can I, as a Christian, not just be depressed for a good bit of my life?
I'll check out that book because I've had a personal experience. I won't talk on air about that. Oh, yeah. I do have one last other question, by the way.
Sure.
Do I exist?
No, you don't.
How do you know that?
How do you know that I just said that?
Oh, my senses are reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know you said that?
Yeah.
My senses and reasoning.
Say one.
I exist, therefore I am.
He exists, therefore he is. All right, so
and I like green eggs and ham.
Oh, Veckel, you're a nut. Anyways, we are about to wrap up for the whole thing, but hey, for those of you who are watching, we're gonna leave the join link in the live chat so you people can come on in and party with us. So there you go. And I'll actually, that's the other thing I'm going to do, off-air join link. I'm going to do that same thing on Google Plus for those who are wanting to do the whole thing there. So anyways, yeah, so we're going to be chilling now, but I thank all of y'all for coming on and asking. But till then, we're going to be having a nice theological chat off-air, or maybe just a casual chat. Who knows? Maybe me and Veckel will have a voice off. But until then, this has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you, because I wish that upon you. Good night.